Hello and welcome to EVN Report's Election Day coverage. I'm Maria Titizian.
And I'm Roubina Margossian. Today is June 7. Armenians are voting in parliamentary elections that will determine the composition of the country's next National Assembly and ultimately its next government. We are going to discuss some of the major narratives that have shaped this campaign because this election has not been so much about policies, it has been about security, identity, and the future direction of the country, and not without controversies such as citizenship.
That's right. Well, we all know that this generated considerable discussion. The Strong Armenia Alliance has faced scrutiny over the dual citizenship status of its leading figures, Samvel and Narek Karapetyan. Critics have questioned whether this raises legal or constitutional issues, and the party has gone so far as to say that if they win, they will change the constitution to allow Samvel Karapetyan to become prime minister. Now, just a little bit of background. Samvel Karapetyan has multiple citizenships. He is a citizen of Cyprus, Russia, and it was disclosed, about 2 weeks ago that Narek Karapetyan, who's heading the list of Strong Armenia, also has Russian citizenship. So this has become a major issue because Armenia's constitution says that you cannot have dual citizenship, and also that you have to have been living in the country for 4 years prior to actually participating in elections.
And perhaps also no narrative has been more talked about other than the citizenship than the 300,000 Azerbaijanis who a lot of the opposition forces say will eventually settle in Armenia. The claim has been repeated in campaign speeches, television appearances, and on social media, often accompanied by dramatic imagery and videos warning of existential threats to the country. The government has categorically rejected these accusations, insisting that no such provisions exist in any negotiated document, and describing the narrative as election disinformation and to spread fear among voters.
Well, this has been one of the most unnerving things that we've seen, especially the AI-generated video content. And every day there's a new scenario, and really it's this kind of negative campaigning has really, I don't know that it's going to work in their favor, because I think it's turned a lot of people off. And this kind of fear that they're trying to instill in the populace.
Well, fear-mongering has been a general theme in the campaign. You did it has to be section about fear-mongering in general from both sides. The ruling party has also said,
that if we don't win,
there will be war.
But nonetheless, so one of the other issues that we've been seeing and talking about has been the several highly publicized confrontations involving Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, including a heated exchange with a woman who accused him of betraying Artsakh, and the subsequent detention of Artsakh refugee and activist Artur Osipyan following a verbal altercation at a campaign event. Both incidents generated intense public debate and underscored the emotionally charged atmosphere surrounding the election. The ruling party has also been accused of using administrative resources like the military parade on May 28th. Traditionally in Armenia, when there have been military parades, they have been held on September 21. This time, the ruling party decided that it had to be May 28, which is the anniversary of the First Republic, and many said, okay, this is an election stunt that you're pulling.
The timing of a lot of the also social and
programs
programs has been suspect,
right?
Including cutting the military serving time by half a year.
Right. So before it was 2 years of conscription. Now it's a year and a half. The universal health care, increasing pensions. So all of these things, these accusations have been leveled, and somebody said it's the power of incumbency. They're the incumbent; they can do these things, but it doesn't bode well.
But also, to be fair, it's not like the government stops working 6 months before a campaign and does nothing.
But then they get very active, right? Extremely active.
Well, more concerningly for me, because this is definitely problematic, vote buying. We have up to 50 recordings, cases that have been officially launched for bribes, and these are coming from election bribes and from all political opposition forces.
This includes Strong Armenia, Armenia Alliance, and Prosperous Armenia Party. We don't know, and another thing that's been happening that I don't know. It's really bothering me, but I think it's bothering a lot of people. Is that we had been hearing that Strong Armenia or some of the more pro-Russian parties would be bringing Armenians from Russia to Armenia to vote in the elections. Now, these are Armenians who hold dual citizenship. Many of them have homes and connections here. Many of them have been living in Russia for many, many years, but are now being brought to Armenia to vote. And we were doing a check, and we saw that last week or so, there have been 20 flights from different cities in Russia a day to Armenia. This is a huge number. And then we've seen images from the airport of, hundreds and hundreds of people coming from Russia to vote. And there was, Factor TV was actually doing
Yes, and a lot of them were saying they're here for a couple of days, they're here to vote for Samvel Karapetyan. Some weren't being so direct. However, you can't be too vigilant in these cases, and everything is pointing to the fact that they are being flown into Armenia in large numbers for voting.
So a couple of things. I think it started a few weeks ago. Authorities, whoever was landing at Yerevan Zavartnots airport, was receiving a brochure in 3 languages, Armenian, English, and Russian, talking about the importance of not engaging in vote bribing or not to be coerced to vote, which is something we had never seen before. And
in case the brochures didn't work, Maria, the government initiated another extra step to kind of mitigate the situation. So a controversial one.
Right. As Armenian citizens were coming back to Armenia at the border, any male up until the age of 55 was served with a document that said that they would have to go and do their 25-day military training. This is a process that has started in the armed forces, where they're periodically taking some of the reserves for additional training. So this is the government's reaction to hundreds or thousands of Armenians being brought to Armenia to take part in the elections.
Legal but controversial.
Yes, indeed. Well, this election has also been remarkable for the degree to which international actors have been featured in the conversation. Now, we know Russian President Vladimir Putin and many people in the Kremlin have been very vocal about Armenia's diversification of its foreign policy and its move toward the European Union. And when Pashinyan was in Moscow several weeks ago during a meeting with Putin said that he hoped that pro-Russian parties would be allowed to participate in the elections. And then, about a week ago, President Donald Trump publicly praised Prime Minister Pashinyan and his government on his Truth Social, something many interpreted as an endorsement. They didn't need to interpret it. It was an endorsement of Pashinyan. And so supporters saw these developments as evidence of Armenia's growing importance to the West, while critics are arguing that this amounts to outside interference in a domestic political process. And in fact, we've been talking a lot about foreign intervention and manipulation. We've seen a lot of false news, fake news, misinformation, disinformation throughout the campaign.
We've seen leaked documents from Moscow and the plans they have for Armenia. It's been part of the general overall what's happening in the world, kind of a campaign. And also what we saw this time was more leaks regarding Moscow's plans and communications. And it just didn't stop right there. Over the past several weeks, Moscow has imposed restrictions affecting a range of Armenian exports, including certain mineral waters, flowers, fruits, vegetables, alcoholic beverages. Well, Russian officials have described these as technical measures, but many in Armenia have interpreted them as political signals. EU has stepped up to help the Armenian exports. Agriculture, flowers are some of them we heard already being exported to
EU countries, right? They proposed a $50 million aid package to offset, Russia's ban on Armenian products. And there was a post the other day I saw of the Latvian ambassador showing a plane full of Armenian flowers being shipped to Riga. So we'll see how this all ends up. But these are obviously, pressure from all sides.
And temporary measures. Let's see how long they're going to be reinforced. A little bit of some of the technical aspects of the election. Almost 2.5 million citizens are registered to vote in Armenia, and voting will take place throughout the day at polling stations across the country. This is also the first regular parliamentary election since 2017. The last two elections in 2018 and 21 were snap elections triggered by political crisis. This means today's vote is the first time in nearly a decade that Armenia is holding parliamentary elections on schedule.
Right. And as you know, a total of 18 political forces are on the ballot, 16 parties and 2 alliances. But while there are many names on the ballot, the race is largely centered around a handful of major contenders. And this brings us to one of the most important questions. How does Armenia's electoral system actually work? Well, Armenia uses a proportional representation system. Voters choose a party or alliance rather than an individual candidate. To enter parliament, a political party must receive at least 4% of the vote. An alliance must receive at least 8%. But there is another important rule. The National Assembly must contain at least 3 political forces. So even if only 2 parties or alliances cross the threshold, the third best performing force will still receive seats. So one thing we'll be watching closely today and into the night is whether any party can actually secure a parliamentary majority on its own.
We'll be reporting throughout the day. We'll be having live updates. We'll be having interviews. Follow us on social media sites, our website also, even though the security of our website is
questionable these days, as we all know.
We've been hacked several times already. And as always, we'll go into reporting mode.
Right.
And keep you updated.